I am also obsessed with release cycles. As Kate mentioned, it's actually one of the reasons that we built BuddyBuild. It was actually pretty frustrating trying to build, deploy, and get feedback for an application. And so as a consequence, we literally started the project as an experiment. We wanted to get a sense for if we could build a product that would automate a lot of the complexity. And so today, I'm not going to show you any slides. We saw some cool live coding demos. I'm actually going to give you a live product demo. Natasha asked me to kind of show what the BuddyBuild experience looks like. How many people are familiar with BuddyBuild or use it? Oh, wow. This is going to be super boring for you then. OK, we're going to rip through it. If you're not, of course, you can feel free to ask me questions if you're not, if you have some questions. So what we're going to do is log in with GitHub, assuming that it's up. Or it could just be a 10-minute Q&A session. So we'll log into GitHub. And at a very high level, what we're going to do is we're actually going to onboard an application. I'm going to set up code signing identity, all the code signing artifacts, and then I'm going to actually deploy it to someone in the audience, whoever wants to participate. So one of the things that we did in BuddyBuild is try to automate a lot of the complexity and a lot of the kind of mundane parts of the product, or the parts of this process, while still giving you the flexibility to customize it. So I've logged in with GitHub. We support GitLab, Bitbucket, both cloud and on-premise versions. What I'm going to do is actually onboard an application. So these are the organizations that I belong to within GitHub. That's the actual application. It's a game called 2048. All right, is everyone familiar with that game? Yeah? Is that or Threes better? What do people like better? Threes. Yeah, it seems fairly consistent, back and forth. So what's happening here is BuddyBuild, while it's interested in the game that we're building, not terribly, it actually goes, we have a couple of data centers where we have literally hundreds of physical machines. We find the machine that's going to give you presumably the best performance. We spin up a virtualization layer, which acts as a great security boundary as well. We pull the source code down to get a sense for what your project is about. We know nothing about your project. Every single VM is completely blank. We don't store any of your source code. We don't do anything like that. But we pull the source code down, and then we start doing a series of analysis. So we go to understand which version, what's in that actual repository. Is it an iOS app? Is that iOS app built in React Native? Is it using PhoneGap or Cordova or Ionic? Is it Swift? Is it Objective-C? Whatever it is, we basically need to get the machine to a place where we can actually do the build. So who's using Carthage here? Hands up. Who uses CocoaPods? Yeah. So if you're using CocoaPods, we will pull all the CocoaPods that are required automatically. This project, like BuddyBuild, your project needs to know nothing about BuddyBuild. BuddyBuild will literally just introspect over the project itself and build an inference engine, basically, to go and figure out how to go and build it. So CocoaPods are the libraries that are required to go and build it. We'll pull all the CocoaPods down. We'll get to the machine to a place where we can actually do the build, so all the dependencies, libraries, things of that nature. And then we actually go and do the build just by kind of getting a sense for how that build is structured, which version of Xcode, which scheme, which branch, all those things. And in a good 98-ish% of the time, that's what the sign-up experience looks like for BuddyBuild. It's kind of magical. It's kind of the way that people often describe it. I'm seeing some heads nod, which is kind of what we want to do. So now, every time I make a change, every time I make a push to GitHub, a new build will get kicked off. If you're running tests, if you have tests that you want to run, those will get automatically run for you as well. So we've set up CI in about 4 minutes for this application, which is pretty good. The next thing we're going to do is actually go and set up the deployment part of it. So kind of the workflow we want to unlock is I make a change, it results in a build that gets deployed, that I can get feedback from people. So who here is a code signing expert? Who considers them a code signing expert? Yeah. Oh, one. That's about right. It's like one in about 250 people. I didn't think I was at one point. Now, sadly, I'm pretty good. But basically, it's still often very confusing. What we try to do is make you a code signing expert by kind of pushing all the complexity away for you. So if you are a code signing expert, what you can do is send us, configure it manually, basically. So you can send us the code signing identities and provisioning profiles. And if you really understand the interplay between the dev portal and your certificates and the devices, then you should do the manual way. We were going to call this the easy way, by the way. But instead, if you're not a code signing expert, what you can do is simply run that command. And as part of that app ingestion process, we reflect it over the project and we learned which code sign identity and provisioning profiles are required to do the build. So we pull all that stuff automatically. We automate all of that complexity and send it up to Buddy Build, so you don't have to really know the nuances. Like if you can build it locally, you should be able to build it in Buddy Build, and this helps you get that up and running there, up in there. So the next thing I need to do, now that I've kind of like created a build and sent the code signing identities, is actually deploy it. Zev, I know you've already used this. Who hasn't used Buddy Build? It sits somewhere close. Who has an iPhone? You. Perfect. Come up the stage. Tell me what your email address is. Yeah. Jane M. OK, I'm going to wait for you to type it. Come on up and type it. And what was your name?
Julie.
Julie, go ahead. Type in your email address. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to send Julie a build of this. Go ahead and hit enter. Or invite. Yeah, there we go. Hang out on stage just for a quick second. And so what we're going to do is we're going to kick off another build. And so who remembers how UDIDs work? Yeah? Her UDID isn't part of the provisioning profile that I just sent to Buddy Build, right? Because I haven't ever connected it to my machine. I've never met you before. So you can kind of get a sense for where this is going to go. She's going to get an email in a second to install the build, but she won't be able to. And so the reason is her UDID isn't part of the provisioning profile. And so her experience is going to be actually pretty crappy. She's going to get an email that says, install this mobile config, and then it'll say, oh, sorry, we can't install 2048 because your UDID isn't part of this provisioning profile. Contact the app owner, me, to go and add this. This is like very frustrating as a beta tester. Does everyone kind of get what that's doing? So I'm going to fast forward that part of that. And what I'm going to do is turn on one of the integrations that people love about Buddy Build. So we have this integration with the Apple Developer Portal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to configure Buddy Build. I'm going to provide Buddy Build with credentials to actually manage all of that stuff for me. So Buddy Build is going to act effectively as a proxy so that when she gets that build in a few seconds here, it'll automatically provision her device for her. So let's see where we are with that build. It's about 1 minute and 26 seconds in. We can see what the output is, so it's doing its thing. Just really quickly while that's happening, you can see basically that I can deploy using Buddy Build with an email-based deployment system. So like if you want to iterate very, very quickly, just do email. If you want to use Slack, you can use Slack as a way to deploy your builds as well. And then when you're ready, you can push it directly to iTunes Connect. So if you love TestFlight and you have a bunch of beta testers who use TestFlight, you can use that. And then when you're ready, you can push it to the App Store as well. So while that build gets kicked or finishes it off here, let's see. It's just archiving it. What we're going to do is go ahead and plug this into your computer or into your phone for a second. What are you using? Gmail? Perfect.
Oh, it's Spark, but it's Gmail.
Oh, Spark. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, you're going to have to do that. That's not my iPhone. Hold on, quick time. I want to show you what she's going to see. We're not actually going to record it. We're just going to use this. Oh, that's horrible. No one wants to see that.
OK, I got a build 2 of
Great.
2048.
So go ahead and install the build. So not only are we doing a live demo, we're having someone who's never used the product, who we've never met, actually try this. So here's the first problem. She likes to use private browsing, which Apple doesn't allow you to actually do as part of this configuration. So do you remember how to get out of private browsing? In front of like 300 people?
I actually don't usually.
So take that.
Safari,
there you go.
OK.
And so just click out of this thing. There we go.
Oh, wait. That's not the right thing.
Yeah, now go back to your email. There you go. Go ahead and click that. I'm guessing she had wished she hadn't put up her hand at this point. So go ahead and register your device.
OK.
Go ahead and hit install. Well, oh yeah.
I have to do the,
Yeah, exactly. Everyone look away.
All right.
Done?
File installed.
And there you go. And so now what Buddy Build is doing is automating all of those steps that you would manually have to do. Normally what I would need to do is get that device ID, go to the Apple developer portal, add the device, regenerate the provisioning profile, re-sign the binary, and send it to her. And so that's going to be a nightmare on many levels. Like, I have to know what I'm doing. She still has to be interested in like actually beta testing the application. There's any number of ways that can go wrong, and the latency that get introduced is painful. Instead, I just say like, hey, buddy build, just do this for me. And the experience that she gets is a little spinner, and what you're seeing here.
There it is.
Go ahead, launch it. So that's 2048. So we went from onboarding an application, deploying it, and I'm just going to show you one other thing. Go ahead and click OK. Make a couple of moves. Do you remember how to play this game? Mm-mm. OK. You're already an expert. Now take a screenshot. And so what we're going to do is actually get feedback from her now.
Oh, OK.
So go ahead and drag it and type whatever you want. Really cool. It sends. And so if I go back now to feedback, here's the feedback. Cool.
Very nice. Cool. Are you done with me?
I am.
OK, great.
Thank you very much. So in 10 minutes, that's onboarding, deploying, and getting feedback from users. I'm out of time, but I'm here for the rest of the day if you have any questions. Or if you use Buddy Build and are like, this frickin' thing isn't working, come and talk to me as well. Any questions now? Anything I can answer for you? Yeah, please.
How do you interact with the Xcode or
Yeah, so the question is, like, what do we use to automate? So, like, I think what most people are used to is really being explicit around what their build process needs to look like. They say, like, I need to do this, I need to do that. It's actually interesting. In the 2.5 years that we've been doing this, when we first started, we're like, oh, this is going to be insane. Like, I don't know, can we take any arbitrary project, suck it in, and like provide? And everyone thinks that they have a unique workflow. Like, I suspect there's 250-ish people, there's 249-ish unique workflows. It actually turns out there's like 8. And so over time, you get a way that you can kind of automate a lot of the complexity. The thing that we want to get away from ultimately is we want everyone here spending time building their applications, like writing amazing user experiences and not funging with infrastructure, right? Like, I can't remember the last time I bought a physical machine and plugged it to an internet connection to run a web server. And so, like, why would you do that with the build process as well? Like, these are the types of problems that someone else should just be dealing with. Like, manage the machine. Like, I'll configure it the way I need it to work, but the rest of it, someone else should figure out.
Thanks so much, Derek.